Hey guys, Bubba here with thebubbanews, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. And I'll say this right now, I ask forgiveness for, it sounds like I've got a lot of noise in the background. So we've got a lot of noise pollution from the cicadas, and we're not even in the swarm area there of Illinois. We're actually in Indiana, but yeah, I just wanted to get out some stuff too and talk about the latest Middle East update and what I'm looking at. There's two things I'm looking at front and center. Actually, there's three that just popped up tonight. I'll give number three now, get it out of the way, because it's kind of like whatever. But now, the United States, Qatar, Egypt, and now Israel said they'll join in, but they're going to come together on, what is that, next Thursday, August 15th, to do a final meeting to get a Gaza ceasefire and hostage exchange. This is a last-ditch effort that they're going to try to do on the 15th. So there's two options that I see coming into play. Either Iran and or Hezbollah and or the Houthis could start a major attack on Israel before that time, before the 15th. To derail that, or, and they might hold off until the 15th, allow them to have their ceasefire talks. So this way, it'll be interesting, because if the ceasefire doesn't take, then it'll be on like Donkey Kong, and the war will break out either way. But also, the U.S. is looking at this too, sneakily, thinking if we can get this meeting scheduled for a final-ditch effort to bring together a ceasefire and a hostage exchange on August 15th, and if Iran or Hezbollah attack Israel or us, we can then point out, you guys provocated this because we're trying to do peace, and you guys started a war. So those are some things I'm looking at. But yeah, let's go back to the number two and number one and two of the three-part. But yeah, this is just tough, even because right now I'm looking at Hezbollah. Because Hezbollah has said that they're getting impatient with Iran, and they're tired of waiting for Iran to give them the green light. But Iran has had a lot of pressure, not only from the United States and others, but from Russia. But since that time frame, since Wednesday the 31st actually began on August 1st of Thursday, last Thursday, Russia started sending in to Iran all kinds of heavy cargo planes and whatnot, and shipments of weapons. Today they went into Syria, dropped off a bunch of stuff. Places tonight got bombed in northern Syria and outside of Tyre. There in Lebanon, because of 20 tons of ammunition, weapons that have been brought in recently. And over 500 Iranian soldiers from the IRGC landed in Syria today, I believe it was. It was either Syria or Beirut, Lebanon, one of the two, but all kinds of crazy stuff's happening. And all these guys are joining forces, and it's coming together. But I wanted to go over this guy's prediction on how he believes the Iranian axis of resistance attack, when they attack Israel, how it'll go down. And for what it's worth, this guy is pretty much on it. He's a Royal Intel on Twitter X. Let's get going. A prelude to the attack. Number one, we're seeing this right now, actually, what the NOTAMs, the notice to air guys, overnight last night, when they had the no area fly zone in Iran, because they were doing testing, gunfiring, that kind of stuff. But Iran was setting up new radar systems and integrating those with the Russian stuff. It's crazy. But point number one is mobilization and drills, which we're seeing. Early August, Iranian forces, along with their allies, will begin moving missile launchers and conducting military drills. These exercises are intended to position forces and missile batteries strategically for the coming strike, while saying these are just for our drills. We're just doing this, we're just getting them ready for our drills coming up. Intelligence gathering, ongoing. Reconnaissance missions and cyber operations are conducted to gather real-time intelligence on the Israeli air defenses and vulnerabilities during this time. while Iran and his proxies are getting their weapons set up for practice, they're going to continue doing recon and intel on Israel to see what Israel's reactions are and what they're doing. This includes monitoring the Israeli troop movements, defense system activation patterns, and communications channels. The Phase 1, the initial wave of the attacks, launch of missiles and drones at Israel. And I believe this too, that when they're going to do this, they're going to send not just a normal couple drones here and there. They're going to have a swarm of 300 to 500 minimum. The first wave is launched on day 1, targeting Israeli air defense systems with a barrage of missiles and drones. The goal is to saturate and test the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow missile defense systems. The key targets will be known Israeli air defense retaliations, radar stations, and communication hubs all across Israel. Now, during day 1 and then going into day 2, they're going to have an assessment period from Iran and Hezbollah to see how they've done against Israel, because they learned a lot on April 13th, 14th, when Iran sent over those 320 ballistic missiles and drones. Following the initial strikes on day 1 on Israel, the Iranian and allied forces will then analyze the response from the Israeli defenses. This period will then be used to identify weaknesses and plan the subsequent, more devastating wave yet to come. Phase 2, coordinated multi-front assault, intensified missile and drone strikes. We're now coming up to day 3. A second, more concentrated wave of missile and drone strikes is then launched. These attacks are aimed at Israel's critical infrastructure, such as power plants and military bases. Key targets will be major cities, including Tel Aviv, which will be huge because this is in north central Israel, further in to Israel than close to Haifa up north. These attacks are aimed at Israel's critical infrastructure, such as power plants and military bases. And the key cities will be major cities, including Tel Aviv and Haifa, IDF military bases. Sorry, I just repeated part of that. And critical infrastructure like the electrical power grid and water facilities. While this is going on by day 3 of all these drone waves and strikes, and literally, guys, these things are going to be coming in waves. From the south, from the Houthis, they're going to be coming from the north, from Hezbollah. Oh my goodness, I was doing some research on that Fatah 110 missile that that Hezbollah has, that's been made by Russia, that Hezbollah has. Hezbollah has over 15,000 of those rockets. And the only thing that's used for those are the David Sling, the Iron Dome's bigger brother, that's able to travel farther. But while these airstrikes are coming in, they're talking about Hezbollah wants to do ground operations into Israel, coming down from the north, all the way from the Mediterranean Sea, all the way around to the Golan in Syria. That whole area of northern Israel, southern Lebanon, all the way around into the Golan. Truly insane. But they want to begin ground operations with their Radwan forces, their special elite forces, simultaneously with the airstrikes still incoming from Hezbollah. Hezbollah forces from Lebanon will then launch a coordinated ground assault on Israeli border positions. This includes the use of anti-tank missiles, Falak and Birkin missiles. Those things are nasty. Man, those things are nasty. For being short range, they have a pretty big punch. The entirety of the northern border from the Mediterranean Sea to the Golan bordering Syria. Also, while this is going on, the Iranian proxy groups and terrorists in the West Bank, and also still in Gaza because they've been firing rockets lately, including Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PIJ, will conduct synchronized attacks including rocket fire and mortar attacks, shooting attacks against Israeli soldiers throughout the West Bank. We're still up to phase 3 now, which is a sustained pressure and secondary operations on Israel. They want to do cyber attacks throughout this entire time frame. Cyber warfare units will target Israeli government websites, financial institutions, and media outlets to create chaos and disrupt normal life. This includes DDoS attacks and data breaches. So while this is going on, Hezbollah wants to create as much mayhem as they can on Israel, undergoing all this rocket fire and incoming attack and damage. Follow-up strikes with guerrilla tactics, day 4 and beyond. Smaller, intermittent rocket barrages and guerrilla-style attacks continue to maintain pressure on Israeli defenses and keep them in a high state of alert. These rocket barrages may be smaller, but they will continue steadily for many weeks to come. That is very possible. Because the amount of rockets that Hezbollah has, 150 to 200,000, they can continue to shoot. We did the math the other day. What is it? They can literally do over 6,000 rockets per day for so many weeks. It was truly insane. At least 6 weeks per day. It's truly nuts what they can do. And the casualties, the dead and the wounded, Israelis are estimating are around 1,800. So this is going to be pretty big. When this thing kicks off, it's going to get ugly fast. It's going to make Ukraine look like a church picnic, in my opinion. But it feels like it's slowly, like that frog being boiled to death, just slowly coming to fruition and slowly coming into place. You know, they keep telling us the attacks in the next 24 to 48 hours. We've been hearing that for 120 hours plus now. I mean, it's just crazy. And again, guys, forgive the cicadas outside. This is truly nuts, but I figured I'd do this, and then I would upload this as a premiere, and I thought it'd be fun. We could all hang out and chat and whatnot. But the next thing I want to talk about is everything that's coming up with the 9th of Av. You know, the Feast of New Wine coming up there, August 12th and 13th. And it goes all the way through the time period of the 18th and 19th, which is something I'm looking at. But they keep pushing this back. And even Iran said a couple days ago, last week even, it was in the Jerusalem Post, I think it was over the weekend, maybe the beginning of the week, Monday. Time's going by so crazy, it's hard to keep up kind of scenario. Seriously, you guys understand? I mean, it's crazy. But they said that they're going to attack Israel on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. And that's a huge day for Israel, because that's the day that their first temple fell, was destroyed. It's the day their second temple fell, was destroyed. I mean, there's all kinds of historic things throughout time, you know, and as we're going into the end times, you know, even from Revelation 4 onward, it turns very Jewish in its language. And, you know, the tribulation period is for the it's for the salvation of the tribulation is for the salvation of the Jewish nation. It's basically to spank them back into submission to follow the one and only true God, just like the Old Testament times. And we're seeing all the paganism rise all around us. I mean, we're returning to a Rome Empire kind of scenario. And just the paganism and the debauchery, and it's just going to get worse. And the madness, the insanity from the Olympics to everything else. But sticking back to the Tisha B'Av time frame, you know, Iran has said they're going to wait to attack until that day, but then now you have the U.S., Qatar, Egypt, and now Israel, and Sinwar of Gaza that say, yeah, we're going to meet, but Sinwar is not coming out of his rat hole. You know, I don't know why they made him the head negotiator dude, since he never comes out from the tunnels, because he's helped protecting the rest of the hostages. So he's not going to show his face. You know, that's not going to do any good. It's almost like they're literally buying time to get closer to, you know, we have the Democrat National Convention coming up next week, the 19th to the 22nd, or right after that. You know what I mean? Just all kinds of craziness. But in dealing with the 9th of Av, this was shared on Tuesday, August 6th. 12:06 p.m. Eastern was the time I got it. But a huge shout out to Keegan Fernandez and Stephanie for pointing this out. But towards Tisha B'Av, the temple worshippers are now practicing the mitzvah of a red cow in front of the Temple Mount, which will enable the return in purity and the observance of all the temple mitzvahs. Now I'm going to, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but they did this, and it may be too bright, there we go. This is a cutout of the red heifer. It is not one of the 5 in Shiloh. But they did this on Tuesday, and they're doing practice runs. And you see the Dome of the Rock. You also see the Mount of Olives behind it. And they're doing this. But this is where it gets kind of just something to pay attention to, in my opinion. As we get, and this is what I put on the Telegram. As we get closer to the Tisha B'Av Jewish date of August 13th, the Jews are getting closer to their end result. And Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, their day of mourning, begins at sunset on the 12th and ends at sunset on the 13th. They want to do the red heifer sacrifice down the road, the burning for the ashes, so they can purify the Temple Mount complex with the red heifer sacrifice / burning ceremony, so the Jews will then be able to build their third temple. And they know that they cannot build their third temple until they do the red heifer burning, collect the ashes, and use it on the Temple Mount proper to wash away 2,000 years of sin and iniquity and bloodshed on the Temple Mount to purify it, so that they can then build their third temple. Here's what the article says. Temple worshippers are now practicing the mitzvah, this is the religious duty, of a red heifer in front of the Temple Mount, which will enable the return of purity and the observance of all the temple mitzvahs, posted journalist Yinan Magal on Tuesday, along with a picture of the Temple Institute members getting ready in the practice. The red heifer being practiced upon in Magal's image is not one of the 5 red heifers from Shiloh, as it seems it is a red heifer cutout that's used for practice. But the practice was just performed within the old city side of Jerusalem, facing the Temple Mount, the Jewish side, facing the Temple Mount while also facing the Mount of Olives, as it was seen in the picture. But here's the thing I'm looking at as well, because they have this huge conference coming up, and sorry about this, guys, and if this doesn't work, it doesn't work. But they have this huge conference coming up on Sunday, and this one may not be able to see it either. My apologies, guys. When I get too close, sometimes maybe something like that. But what they're doing, and down here you'll be able to see it. See how there's a gold thing all the way around the Temple Mount? They want to do a human chain of Jews and those from the Temple Institute to form a human chain of Jews all the way around the Temple Mount on Sunday, the 11th, August 11th. Let's get back to the article. We're getting so very close now, and yet so few are paying attention. Something big appears to be brewing with the Temple Mount. Big, is what I said. This coming Sunday, August 11th, before the 9th of Av, on August 12th through the 13th, the Jews will come together for a gathering at the temple to awaken love. The plan is to encircle the entirety of the Temple Mount complex in a human chain. We will return, quote unquote, and stand in a human chain around the walls of the Temple Mount. This sounds very prophetic and even like Old Testament-ish, like Joshua 6 and stuff like that. Jericho. I mean, this is wild. The human chain to encircle the Temple Mount is approved? What? How is this approved? With everything going on, say what? And will be protected by Israel's security forces under Ben-Gvir. Itamar Ben-Gvir took over the Israeli Temple Mount police forces. Unreal. Something to keep an eye on. And here's how I finish it. Want to create a mega war with all nations that surround Israel and those round about them? The word Sabib in Hebrew in Ezekiel 28 verses 24 and 26, as well as Zechariah 12, 4 through 6, that area, and others. Talk about desecrating their Islamic unholy mount, the Al-Aqsa, with the red heifers by Israel on their Al-Aqsa, and you've instantly got the Psalm 83 verses 3 to 5 scenario. Every single surrounding Arab nation and people group will join in that fight. The fight for the Temple Mount. We've got some crazy days coming up, guys. These are things that are on my radar. We're getting so very close to the very end. And guys, we are almost out of here. Jesus is coming for his church. He is coming for his bride so very soon. And this stuff is getting ready to kick off. I'd love to go in more because as we get closer to the end, more of the prophecies are starting to align and make sense, and the Holy Spirit's like unlocking our minds, and the understanding is just like, wow. And even seeing now that they may end up pushing off and holding off this Elam prophecy until September, if not towards November, during selection season. There's all kinds of shenanigans coming up. And I think all we're doing is seeing the basic puzzle pieces just every day starting to come together more and more and more and more. And while we feel like, and while the media tells us and gaslights us that it's coming in the next 24 to 48 hours, it's coming soon. And one of these times it will be in this next 24 to 48 hours. But they're pushing it back for a reason. I just want to know you guys' input and see where you guys are standing at. I just wanted to do this. I'm at 20 minutes, 21 minutes now. Kind of do this as a live, but kind of just want to do it as a premiere too and get your input. I'd love to see your comments down at the bottom of the screen. There's so much coming up. So much coming up. You know, the Elam prophecy. We've got Damascus coming up. We've got the invasion, the breaching of Hezbollah into Israel and even Syria from the northeast up towards the Golan. You know, once they start taking out Israel's air defenses, these guys are going to want to break through like they did Gaza and Hamas on October 7th and come into Israel proper. And this is what the Bible tells us is coming in Zechariah 12. Zechariah 14 is the day of the Lord scenario at Armageddon. Verses 1, 2, and 3 especially, but Zechariah 12, 1 through 9, we're seeing it in a new light now, and it's not. It's part of. It's coming up to. It's like the last fireworks show or the last preamble before, you know, Revelation or Zechariah 12:10 going into the day of the Lord. But you know, when Israel takes care of its enemies on the right hand and on the left hand of them in verses 4 through 6. And even verse 3, when all the nations gather against Israel, they are all going to gather against Israel. Not physically, as in war. Because when you dig into that wording, it's like they're going to assemble together in unison, in agreement. Like a UN thing, or like a peace and security thing, or like a Security Council thing, the ICC, the ICJ, all these court cases against Israel and their genocide. You're going to see all nations doing this. And even watching Kamala Harris and even Tim Walz, the way they're just masterminds of Israeli people, but they have no intention of supporting Israel. And but those are just things I just wanted to get out to you guys. I'll end it now, but I just want to say thank you so much. We just crossed over 5,000 subscribers today. I just want to say thank you for that. Seriously, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. But everyone tells me I just need to do more videos, and that's just the hardest thing for me is to press that play button or the live button or whatnot, or the record button, because I'm just a servant. I'm just a hillbilly from Indiana that just wants to serve the Lord and help you guys, bless you, encourage you somehow. But guys, we are getting so close to the harpazo. The rapture is coming, and this war is getting ready to kick off. The Psalm 83 war, Isaiah 17. So many things are coming soon. Even down in the not too near future, but not too far future is Gog Magog even. And yeah, I mean, maybe we should start doing videos on that. The Gog Magog wars, how the Ezekiel 38 and 39, the 52 or 54 verses there, 51 even, are different than the Revelation 20 verses 7 through 10 Gog of Magog scenario at the final end of it. But I will talk to you guys later. So, all right. Oh, actually, I needed to finish this out. My neighbor stopped by, so I got distracted, and I love my neighbor to death. But he probably didn't know that I was doing this. But for those of you who are able to support, I just want to say thank you. Some of you have been able to, and again, thank you so much. We've set it up for the PayPal, Venmo, Gift Send Go. What else? Cashapp. Mine's drawing a blank, but just want to be a blessing for you guys. You know, and just to be able to provide for the family, I applied today for monetization just because we got over the watch hours and the 5,000 subscribers, and thank you for that. Don't want to sell out. I don't want to make money. I don't want to become rich. I just like to prepare for my, help, take care of my family if I can. And if it means me being able to do more of these videos, I'd love that. Seriously, I'd love that. It's like the past couple of years, the Lord's really been working on my heart to get out of the world and get into the Word. And just wanting to dig in more. And now I think it's time to just like share and help, because Jesus tells us in Matthew 28:19 and 20 to go ye therefore and make disciple all nations. And when we look into the Greek wording for disciple, it's mathemateo, and I always mess up that word, but it means to become a studied learner and to be able to share with others and teach them. And I'm still learning. I've got a lot to learn, guys, but the things I've learned, I'd love to be able to help others, because prophecy is hard. End time eschatology is hard. Knowing what nations are who is hard. What time frame, when this has all come together is hard. So I get it. But I just want to say thank you, guys. I love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.